Hello everyone, we're excited to welcome you in for a fourth season of Before the Kickoff, the Daily Island's weekly pregame show and your #1 source for Hawkeye football. I'm your co-host, Colin Carruthers.
And I'm Elise Gann. We're going to break down everything you need to know before the kickoff.
Elise, I know it's cliche to hear, I'm obviously so excited for football season. I went back home for the summer, I'm talking to people about this Iowa football team, and I'm just excited to see, does the chatter from this whole summer live up to the hype on the field?
I hope it does, Colin. And today I was really feeling it. It was brisk outside. I had to put on a little jacket. It was making me feel like football season is just right around the corner, which it is.
I know, so when you feel the weather start to drop a little bit, I know we're in that Midwest false fall right now, but
yeah.
Come on, we'll take what we can get right now. But with a new season comes some new faces to learn. So let's head over to the newsroom where Ryan Paris makes his BTK debut and introduces us to the latest roster updates.
All right, guys, lots of roster changes to get into. But let's start with the most important position on the field for the Hawkeyes, and that is the quarterback. It's the position that has made the Hawkeyes into the national punching bag at times this season, and the one that makes me put my head in my hands and say, how can it be this difficult? In the past, Hawkeye fans had to temper their expectations for the season at times because of who was under center for the Hawks, but the hope is that this year things will be different because of Mark Gronowski. He's ranked 8th on the Athletics Big Ten QB poll entering the season, which is important to note, is in the top half of the standings. He has some accolades coming over from South Dakota State that almost sound made up. 2 FCS championships, over 10,000 career passing yards, and over 93 passing touchdowns. A whole lot of rushing stats as well to go along with that. And let's see what he said about his first career start with the Hawks.
I'm excited. It's going to be a lot of fun. It was emotional the last time we walked out in Kinnick, just for Kids Day, especially with 72,000 fans out there. It's going to be emotional, but just being able to calm those emotions, go out there and have some fun on Saturday.
And this year, Hawkeye fans can also feel good about who's on the depth chart behind Mark Gronowski. Second-string quarterback is Hank Brown, the Auburn transfer, and right behind him, Jeremy Heklinski from Wake Forest. So some good pedigrees for the backup quarterbacks in the QB room. But beyond that, a lot of changes around the roster as well. I want to focus in on the wide receiver room, another position group that could use some juice, and they're hoping to get that in the form of Sam Phillips, a transfer from Chattanooga. He put up 800 yards and 3 touchdowns in his senior season with the Mocs and has 1 year of eligibility remaining for the Hawkeyes. And beyond that, looking defensively, there's a lot of returning players in the secondary and on the defensive line. Xavier Nwankpa going to anchor that secondary yet again for his final season with the Hawks, and Aaron Graves entering his senior season as well. But beyond that, there is a Jay Higgins and Nick Jackson-sized hole in the middle of the defense. They're going to be looking at the combo of Jackson Rexroth, Carson Scher, and Jaden Harrell to fill that void. Plenty of hope for the Hawkeyes in this offseason, but the responsibility is largely going to fall on the shoulders of Mark Gronowski.
Thank you for that, Ryan. I, for one, appreciate hearing about some of the new guys for the Hawks this fall, but the team did lose some talent to the NFL. I just saw the video of Jay Higgins making the roster for the Ravens. So cute, so sweet. What did you think about that?
I thought it was amazing. I like the part where he called his dad there. Did you get to that part in the video?
I did not.
Okay, well, remember when he was at Iowa, he had his saying of hawk, hawk, hawk?
I do.
So with the Ravens, have you seen the new phrase for his dad?
What is it, Colin?
It's now flock, flock, flock.
There it is.
So, I mean, as a Bengals fan, seeing him in our division, I'm a little worried. I feel like he can sneakily terrorize us, but of course, happy for the guy no matter what.
Of course, but anyways, fins up. But with the Hawkeyes, most fans are anticipating a stronger offense, stronger quarterback, and they're hoping for the defense to maintain its strength. So in this first week, let's break down the Hawkeyes and their opponent, Albany. We'll start with a few things to look out for with Albany. First, looking at what's pretty much a brand new roster for the team. They did lose about 50 players from last year's team, which makes it pretty difficult to scout.
The week 1 game is always kind of hard because you don't know what they're going to come out in or who they're going to have. But yeah, just watching the last year's film and stuff like that, knowing what their base coverages is, we just really see what they're doing now, what they've been doing recently, last season, things like that, what they're looking like on tape.
They're also under new leadership with first-year interim head coach Jared Ambrose, who previously was their offensive coordinator and QB coach.
And well, if that isn't already enough to tackle at the beginning of the season, they've never been too lucky out of the gate. They're going to pile all of that on top of an 0-4 record against Power 4 conference teams, and are coming off a 4-8 season where they lost 5 consecutive games right near the end, and they also averaged just over 19 points per game.
Yeah, and honestly, at least to begin the year, I don't see the offense being all that much better for the Great Danes. They did have 3 transfers battling for the starting QB spot, which was officially announced Wednesday to be Jack Shields, a transfer from Buffalo, where he didn't see too much of the field, but he did have 2 starts the previous season at Old Dominion.
Not much to fall back on with the Whiteouts either. 5 of their top 6 receivers are not back with Albany, though. Do want to highlight they brought in NAIA All-American Josiah Barron from Wayland Baptist. He's going to be the biggest threat for Iowa's DBs as he finished last season with 71 receptions for 1,042 yards at least.
Yeah, Colin, and another threat for the Hawks is the Great Dane star linebacker Ron Holmes, who just last season had a total of 88 tackles and 8 tackles for loss. And with his help and the help of some of Albany's safeties, the team's defense ranked 32nd in pass yards allowed last season.
I gotta say, at least when we both saw that 88 number, 88 tackles last season, we had to do a double take there.
We did have to do a double check, yes, that is true. But let's move on and face the elephant in the room.
I mean, what else could it be, Elise? Let's redirect our attention back to the Iowa Hawkeyes, and as you were alluding to, Mark Gronowski as the new starting quarterback for the Hawkeyes. Ryan gave us a good look at him, but we should have plenty of time to make decisions in the pocket this year behind a stellar O-line led by center Logan Jones, as well as standouts Bo Stevens and Jennings Dunker.
And the big update on the line we were all waiting to hear about, the left tackle. And Kirk announced that he'll be going with sophomore Trevor Locke, but Jack Dotzler will still get playing time as well.
I think, as I stand here right now, whatever time it is on probably about 2 o'clock right on Tuesday, we'll start Trevor, but Jack's going to play. I'm sure he'll play him, and because it is that close. And I think they both have earned it. They both have done a good job.
This will also help the running back room, and obviously no Caleb Johnson this year, unfortunately for the Hawks. But there is a lot of optimism for guys like Kamari Moulton, Terrell Washington, and even Jazian Patterson. Moulton is listed first string and finished last season with 473 yards and 39.4 yards per game, but still expect to see everyone get some time in the backfield.
Well, Elise, we're talking about the O-line, but I want to bring up the defensive line as well. They are extremely scary this season. They return Ethan Herkett, who led the team in sacks, tackles for loss, and forced fumbles. You see the numbers on your screen right there. And on top of all that, they also have some studs over there. Aaron Graves, Max Llewellyn, and Bryce Hawthorne can make any quarterback scared in the backfield.
And Colin, this is a stacked defense. I believe they'll give that new Albany quarterback plenty of fits, but whenever we talk about Iowa, we have to bring up the special teams. Not much to change from last season's greatness. Reese Dakin and Drew Stevens are back, as well as the nation's best return man and Jet Award winner Caden Weechin, who collected 1,134 all-purpose yards last year.
And at least just as we roll out of our breakdown here, I got to bring up some fun facts for
love
you.
Fun facts.
I know, we got to talk about them on our own off to the side sometimes. Here's my fun fact for you.
Okay,
Iowa, 22-4 under Kirk Ferentz in season openers. That's what I found in my spare time.
Well, I'll do you one better.
Ooh.
26 games. That is just one game over the amount of night games Iowa has ever played. Another cool fun fact. We were just talking about that today, weren't we?
We were, which honestly kind of surprised me. It makes sense when you really think about it, but I didn't originally think. It feels like that's so little amount of games at first. But, I mean, we're talking about all these cool facts. And one of the other coolest facts from this previous week is Iowa's tradition of the wave was officially ranked again the #1 tradition in college sports. And one of my other favorite parts about this tradition, the kid captains for Iowa is now back with the season.
This week, Ryan Paris learned the inspiring story Iowa's kid captain Nola Stevenson has to share.
Before his accident, Nolan Stevenson's life mirrored that of many other small-town Iowa kids. He played a bit of baseball, basketball, and soccer, as well as spent much of his time outside with the animals on his family's farm. One day when Nolan was 6 years old, he, his mother, and his stepfather were riding in their farm's UTV when it rolled over, ejecting Nolan and his stepfather from the vehicle.
Once the vehicle landed, I, knew that they weren't there with me, and so went to provide support to them and realized that Nolan really needed medical attention.
Nolan was rushed to a hospital in Des Moines where they performed an investigative surgery. However, the doctors determined they didn't have the specialty his condition required, so Nolan flew out to Iowa City that same night.
And so those first 7 days were very stressful, very dark, very, didn't really know what the outcome was going to be during that time.
In the following days, doctors amputated Nolan's left leg, removed part of his pelvis, and performed several other surgeries to repair tissue. And while he stayed at Stead, his case was used to teach University of Iowa medical students.
I was very humbled when that resident told me, well, Nolan, everybody's seen Nolan's case and we've all had a chance to learn from it. I think he told me after that initial surgery that Nolan's, injuries were like 1 in a 10-year experience for that particular hospital.
Now in 4th grade, Nolan loves hanging out with his friends, watching TV, and of course, handling his family's animals in the show ring. And although Iowa State is the Stevenson family's team of choice, Nolan will lead the Hawkeyes onto the field this weekend as Iowa takes on the Albany Great Danes. From the University of Iowa, Ryan Paris, DITV Sports.
Thank you, Ryan, for sharing that inspiring story. I always love hearing about the awesome things kid captains do and all their amazing journeys.
I know, but I think, it's time to turn our attention to one of your favorite segments of the show, Elise.
Oh, yeah. You know it. I may be retired from my teaching days. I mean, those kids, they can just get so crazy. But Cole Krieger takes my place and joins the show to give us a little bit of a history lesson.
Thanks, guys. Professor Krieger here on this edition of Before the Kickoff, and today we've got our first history lesson of the season. And unfortunately, guys, I hate to break it to you, but there's actually no history between the Hawkeyes and the Great Danes themselves, as Saturday's game will be the first ever matchup between the two schools. However, there's some history to be unpacked with new Iowa starting quarterback Mark Gronowski and his career against the Albany Great Danes and his career in Kinnick Stadium. Back in December of 2023, then South Dakota State quarterback Mark Gronowski completed 78% of his passes for 265 yards and 3 touchdowns against the Albany defense in the Jackrabbits FCS playoff semifinal matchup. Gronowski also ran the ball 5 times for 50 yards in their 2023 showdown. The Jackrabbits defeated the Great Danes 59-0 on their route to an FCS national championship. Prior to winning his 2 FCS national championships, Gronowski and the Jackrabbits traveled to Kinnick Stadium during Week 1 of the 2022 season. The Jackrabbits did put up a good fight, but lost in the infamous 7-3 game, which included 2 field goals, 2 safeties, 0 touchdowns, and get this, 21 punts. Gronowski now walks into Kinnick Stadium, but instead of wearing the blue and gold, he'll be donning the black and gold Saturday night. And one final note to take from today's lesson is that over the last 20 years, Iowa is 3-0 across all varsity sports against the Albany Great Danes, including wins in women's basketball, baseball, and softball. Well, class, today's lesson is now in the books, and I'll send it back to you guys.
Well, thank you for that, Cole. I got to say, at least for myself, I had no idea about that whole 3-0 versus Albany athletics thing. And I mean, you have some experience with that segment as a professor yourself. I have no idea how you guys get that type of information.
Yeah, I'll just say, from my own experience with it at least, it is a professor secret. I don't know if you would understand that.
I guess
Sorry,
not.
but for now, we should hear what is going on around the Big Ten Conference to kick off the 2025 college football season.
Sam Coopers has the rundown on what's going on around the Big Ten.
Thanks, guys. Well, you can't go around the Big Ten without talking about potentially the game of the year in a rematch of last year's thrilling college football semifinal, the 3rd-ranked Ohio State Buckeyes against the #1 team in the nation, the Texas Longhorns. The Buckeyes are coming off of a historic year where they went 14-2 and took home their 9th national championship in school history with a 34-23 win over Notre Dame. All eyes will be on the highly anticipated quarterback matchup in this one between Texas's Arch Manning and Ohio State's Julian Sayin. Arch, nephew of NFL greats Peyton and Eli Manning, is making just his 3rd career start for the Longhorns. In his previous 2 starts last season, in relief of an injured Quinn Ewers, Manning went 2-0, throwing for 583 yards, 4 touchdowns, and 2 picks on a 68% completion percentage. Manning is currently the betting favorite to win the Heisman Trophy. For the home team, Julian Sayin, the former #1 quarterback prospect in 2024 coming out of high school, begins his sophomore year by making his first career start. In a very limited sample size of just 12 pass attempts over 4 games played last year as a backup, Sayin tallied 84 yards and a touchdown on just a 42% completion percentage. But don't let those numbers fool you. Head coach Ryan Day has all the confidence in the world in Sayin, who beat out Lincoln Kienholz for the QB1 role during training camp. We moved to Ann Arbor to the team that was one of Ohio State's 2 losses last year, the 14th-ranked Michigan Wolverines. When the Wolverines take on the New Mexico Lobos Saturday night, it will officially mark the start of the Bryce Underwood era. Underwood, the #1 high school prospect in the class of 2025, will make his first career start at quarterback. Underwood, who lives just 20 minutes away from Michigan's campus, committed to LSU on January 6th, and it stayed that way for the next 10 months. But Michigan stayed persistent and ended up getting Underwood to flip to his hometown school on November 21st. Underwood is the first five-star quarterback to suit up for the Wolverines. His coaches and Michigan fans around the country are hoping that he can be the guy to bring home national title number 11 before his time with Big Blue is done. Our final stop around the Big Ten, Champaign, Illinois. The Illinois Fighting Illini welcome the Western Illinois Leathernecks into town. The Illini are ranked 12th in the preseason coaches poll, which is tied for the second highest in program history since the preseason coaches poll began all the way back in 1978. Star quarterback Luke Altmaier is back for his senior season with Illinois. Altmaier led his team to a 10-4 record last year, capping the season off with a win over then 15th ranked South Carolina in the Cheez-It Bowl. Altmaier put up a career best in passing yards, touchdowns, and QB rating. If he's able to build off of last season, this Illinois team could be a scary sight for many Big Ten teams and could find themselves in the college football playoff for the first time in school history. That's a look around the Big Ten. Guys, what are some games that you guys are excited for this weekend?
Thank you, Sam. My answer to your question is Texas-Ohio State, a battle of the new quarterbacks. I think that game could potentially lay out who goes to the postseason, who goes the furthest. What about you, Colin?
I'm just saying that's a great pick there. You saw what I did?
I didn't.
Just saying. Oh, yeah, horns
just
down.
saying.
Just saying. Their new quarterback there, of course. But my game to watch, I'm surprised it almost didn't make that list there. Neutral game site, Arrowhead Stadium, between the Cincinnati Bearcats and Nebraska Cornhuskers for my hometown people that are watching this back in Cincinnati. I'm going to be a little biased here for a second and do us all a favor here in Iowa. I won't say anything more, but I think you catch my drift there. And when we're talking about the Iowa football season, in a little bit we're going to give our season predictions, and I was trying to look through all these different numbers, and this is one of the more hard seasons to predict, in my opinion.
Yeah, Colin, we got a little bit of a harder schedule. We were actually just talking about this the other day, looking at some ESPN stats, and we made a little game out of it.
Yes, we did. And folks, now everyone at home can join us as well for a little fun on this week's game of Higher and Lower, where our contestants will be giving a starting percentage of Iowa's chance to beat their opponent, starting with week 1, and from there we'll have to guess if the next week's percentage will be higher or lower than the previous. Let's meet our contestants. Welcome into our game show segment. I'm this week's host, Colin Carruthers, joined by, of course, Elise Stan, Ryan Paris, and Cole Krieger, as well as Sam Kupris. How are we feeling today, guys?
Good.
Well, again, just a reminder to everyone, we are playing higher or lower this week. And a quick explanation once again, ESPN for each individual matchup has a percentage of how likely each team is to win that specific game. So we took all those, compiled them together. We're going to give the contestants the week 1 answer, and from there they will predict is the next week higher or lower in Iowa's percentage to win that game than the previous week that we just stated. For week 1 against Albany, Iowa has a 99% chance to win that game. I don't think that's a shock to anyone, but week 2 is that Cy-Hawk series matchup against Iowa State. Is that percentage going to be higher or lower for the Hawkeyes?
I'm going to go with lower. It might hurt, but I'm going to go with lower, Colin.
I'm also going to go with lower. It should be an 100% win rate, but it has to be lower.
Iowa State already 1-0. I've got to go lower.
It's a very tough decision to make, but I'm also going to go lower too.
Well, we've got one in the books. Go ahead and give yourself a round of applause. 1 point for everyone. Iowa, 44.2% chance to win that game against Iowa State. Maybe a little lower than some people expected, but still should be a great matchup for everyone at home still playing along. Give yourself a point if you got that one correctly. The winner will be whoever finishes with the most points, 1 point awarded for each correct answer. I got to say before we continue, there are some very weird ones in here, some stuff that I did not agree with very much, and we'll get to those here in a bit, but week 3 is against UMass. Is that going to be higher or lower for Iowa? Again, that Iowa State percentage was 44.2%.
I'm going to go with higher, Colin.
I'm going to say considerably higher.
Higher.
It's got to be higher.
2 up and 2 down, 2 points for everyone. 2 simple ones out of the gate. We'll go ahead and move to week 4 against Rutgers. Is that percentage going to be higher or lower than UMass?
I'm going to go with lower.
It sounds like a copycat, but I got to go with lower too.
I'm
I'm also going to go lower.
I'm riding with everyone. I'm going lower too.
Well, lower is again the right answer there. So 3 points for everyone. Iowa, here's something that's interesting to me. 48.6% chance to beat Rutgers. I feel like for most people, that's one that I think everyone is going to pick Iowa on when we make our season predictions later. But only 48.6% chance for Iowa to win that game as it stands while we film this. That'll probably change by week 2, week 3 as we continue throughout the season. Now we get a little bit more difficult than our freebies there. We move on to Indiana. Will that percentage be higher or lower? Reminder, the Rutgers percentage was 48.6%.
That's going to be a tough one. I'm going to go lower.
I think Indiana's ranked, so it's got to be lower.
It's a toss-up. My gut is just telling me to go lower.
That same kind of thing as Ryan. Indiana ranked 20th coming into the season. It's got to be lower.
Everyone's saying hand in hand so far, but this will be the first time that none of you get a point.
Wow.
Iowa has a better percentage to beat Indiana than they do Rutgers. It's 52.9%. And you were right, Ryan. Indiana is ranked in the preseason polls, but it's one, I guess, with Iowa being home, they get that much more of an advantage. So let's go ahead and move on to Wisconsin. That one is on the road at Camp Randall. Will that be higher or lower than the 52.9%?
Although it is in Wisconsin, it should be higher.
I'm going to deviate for the first time here. I think it's going to be lower on the road.
Quick shout out to my friends back home in Madison, but I got to go higher.
I'm rocking with Ryan. I'm going lower as well.
Oh, we got our first mix and toss up here. So only 2 of you will get points, and that'll be Elise and Cole. It is higher on the road against Wisconsin, 53.4%. So only 0.5% higher. That's probably the closest we'll see between the two there. Now we'll go ahead and move on to coming back home against Penn State for the Hawkeyes. Will that be higher or lower than Wisconsin?
That's a tough one, Colin. I think it's going to be lower.
There's been some really weird stuff so far, but I'm pretty sure it's going to be lower.
There's been some classic games between these two schools, Colin, but I still got to go lower.
It's got to be lower, unfortunately.
Yeah, that one was a little bit easier for everyone to get. There is going to be some more weird stuff, as you were saying, Ryan, but 24.4% chance for Iowa to win that game. So everyone will get a point there. So Elise and Cole lead by 1 point. Let's move ahead. Still at home for the Hawkeyes. It's against the Minnesota Golden Gophers. We're all reminded of what happened 2 short seasons ago at home. Hubert Eugene will never forget. But for you guys, do you think that'll be an easier game for Iowa to win or not?
I definitely think the percentage will be higher.
Depends on what role the refs play, but it should be higher.
One of my favorite trophies in all of college football, Colin, I got to go higher.
It's got to be higher than Penn State.
That is a great trophy, Cole. And you all, again, are awarded a point. So Cole and Elise lead by 1, but give yourself a pat on the back there. We're rolling in well, but here's where things start to tumble towards the end of the season. Can someone make a comeback or not to retake this lead, or can there be some separation between Elise and Cole? We'll find out with this Oregon game. The Minnesota percentage was 64.4% chance for Iowa to win that game. At home against the Oregon Ducks, will that percentage be higher or lower? Elise?
Oregon is a phenomenal football team, and I know Iowa's great too. However, I'm going to have to say lower.
I'm going to say lower as well.
Lower.
Oregon, one of the best teams in the nation. Even though we're at home, it's got to be lower, unfortunately.
Again, you all are correct. It is lower than Minnesota, 33.2% chance for Iowa to win that game. What's interesting to me about that is higher than the Penn State percentage there. Remember, that was 24.4% against the Nittany Lions for the Ducks, 33.2%. Now the Hawkeyes go on the road. Last 3 weeks of the season, they played the USC Trojans. This will probably be your closest one besides that matchup between Indiana and Wisconsin earlier. So again, Iowa versus USC will be higher or lower than Oregon. Again, that percentage was 33.2%.
I'm going to go higher, but not by much.
I'm going to say higher as well.
I'm going to say lower.
Ooh. I got to come back in this. I'm saying lower as well.
We have 3 lowers and 1 higher, so it was 2 and 2. Thank you for everyone fixing that there for me. But USC, is it higher or lower? Again, Oregon was 33.2%. USC, Iowa's percentage is 23.9% chance to win that game. So everyone who picked lower for that is actually correct. I would have assumed higher as well. But again, ESPN really not favoring those away games, I think for any team, but especially for Iowa. That greater travel in the Big Ten not helping them too much. So let's move on to Michigan State. Their last home game of the regular season, will that be higher or lower than USC?
We're going to be back at home. I'm going to say higher.
I've been too logical so far, but I'm going to continue to be logical and hope it's right. Higher.
I'm excited to call this game with you, Colin. I'm going to go higher.
I'm going higher as well.
Yeah, shout out to our call on KRUI Sports at the end of the season. Everyone will get a point there. It is higher than the USC score. 76.2%. They beat Michigan State despite them losing to the Spartans last year. I also forgot to bring this point up that USC percentage, 23.9, is the lowest all season for the Iowa Hawkeyes. Again, that travel to Los Angeles really not helping them at this point of the year. But again, that should probably change as the season continues. So now we go to our final week of the year. It's on the road in Lincoln against Nebraska, a huge rivalry game. They got Dylan Raiola, but Iowa has Mark Gronowski. Where will these teams be at this point in the season? Who might be searching for a bowl game? Who might be searching for a better bowl game? Well, I start with you again, Elise. Will that percentage be higher or lower than 76.2%?
As much as I want it to be higher, Colin, I don't think it will be. I think it'll be lower.
I have to agree it's going to be lower.
The national media loves to hype up Nebraska, Colin. I got to go lower.
With how we've seen Iowa and the percentages of them on the road, fortunately, it's got to be lower.
Well, everyone agrees for our final answer, and everyone will be correct. The end things out for higher or lower. 42.9% chance for Iowa to beat Nebraska there. So still in Nebraska's favor. Again, I think that's mostly because they are on the road. But for our winner of our first game show here on Before the Kickoff, Cole Krieger, go ahead and give yourself a round of applause. Week 1 winner of higher or lower. Well, all good and fun there. Guys, we got a good idea of which games you guys think are more likely for Iowa to win, but I want to hear exactly your season predictions are. But Elise, you have something obvious right there. It's kind of glowing.
Yeah, something I'm quite familiar with. The predictions belt for each game this season. We will all predict who wins and the final score, and whoever is closest will be crowned with this beautiful belt that week.
I know, don't get too comfortable with it for now, but without further ado, we got to take that from her. Someone, probably me, but someone's got to take that from her. So let's hear everyone's season and weekend predictions for the Hawkeyes, starting with Ryan.
All right, guys, I've got the honor of giving my predictions first this year, and I have a little bit of help with the official script for the college football season, hot off of the Kirk Ferentz printing press. So in it, Iowa's going to go 8-4 this year. They have losses to Penn State, Oregon, USC, and Nebraska. The 8-4 record is going to be the exact same as last year, but that's more due to the tougher strength of schedule. All 4 of those losses come in the second half of the season as well, which is a little bit deflating. But on the positive side, Iowa and Penn State will be undefeated when they play each other if everything in here is correct. And that would mean a good chance of potentially getting on College game day. You heard that here first. Besides that, some big wins in rivalry games this year. Wisconsin, that one's not going to be close. Minnesota, even more of a blowout. And against Iowa State, Iowa's going to eke out a pretty close win. They're going to keep the trend of the away team winning the Cy-Hawk game going and get revenge for last season. But moving on to Albany specifically, it's not really a question of who's going to win that game, but by how much Iowa is going to win it by. I have them going 41-7 victory over the Albany Great Danes. I think the offense is going to be the stars of the show, set the tone for this new era of Hawkeye football. I think there are going to be 5 total touchdowns that Iowa scores in this game, and my hot take, 4 of them are going to be offensive. So I think there's going to be a 10-2 ceiling overall on the season here, but I think 8-4 is probably the most realistic, but I want to hear what Cole Krieger has to say.
Thanks, Ryan. And personally, I think that whole script thing is a whole bunch of baloney. I got the Hawkeyes going 9-3 this season, with their only losses coming against Penn State, Oregon, and on the road in the Coliseum against USC. I think the Hawks pick up key wins against rivals Iowa State, Minnesota, Nebraska, and a huge win week 4 against Indiana. Moving our attention over to this week against Albany, I think the game will start similarly to Iowa's Week 1 game last season. Last year against the Illinois State Redbirds, the Iowa offense struggled in the first half, going into the half up just 6-0 against their FCS foe. I think the Hawkeyes start slow on offense, but get in rhythm in the second half, shutting out Albany, winning the game 38-0. And I'll send it over to Sam for his Week 1 prediction.
Thanks, Cole. I agree with you. Where's your faith in the Hawkeyes, Ryan? Come on now. In the 2025 season, I have the Hawkeyes finishing with a record of 9-3. Though the Hawkeyes face their toughest opponents, Penn State and Oregon, at home, I don't see Iowa pulling off an upset in either one of those games. And then in the final game of the season, I think the Cornhuskers of Nebraska are going to get their revenge after the heartbreaking loss that they took last year at Kinnick. In week 1, I see the Hawkeyes absolutely rolling Albany. As Ryan mentioned, Iowa is a heavy favorite in this one, 38 points to be exact. I have the Hawkeyes covering this total with ease, 48-3. Elise, what do you got for us?
Thanks, Sam. I guess I am going to go with the majority here. I have the Hawkeyes going 9-3 as well, losing to Penn State and Oregon. However, I don't have them losing to USC. Instead, I have them losing to some absolutely random team that statistically they should not lose to, but they ultimately will. Like Minnesota or Michigan State, whoever it may be. I mean, my freshman year, it was Minnesota with the whole fair catch thing, which it wasn't a fair catch, but that's for another day. And last year, it was both UCLA and Michigan State, which I was actually there to witness in person. Again, not fun. But it seems to happen to us a lot. And another thing, it seems a lot of us don't have faith in the Hawks against USC, which I guess I can understand with the travel and all of that, but I'm going to go there to cover it, and I'll be their good luck charm. Just trust me, okay? Okay, I got them. But as for the season opener, I see Iowa taking a 45-3 win over Albany. Originally, I was going to give the Hawks the shutout, but I will be nice to the Great Danes and predict they will get at least a field goal. Now, last but certainly not least, let's hear what you've got, Mr. Carruthers.
Thanks for saying not least there. I'm going to be...
But least, certainly.
Oh, yeah, I'm so sure about that. Well, I'm going to have to go with the majority here. Can you take a guess at what my record prediction's going to be? I wonder here. I am going to also go with 9-3, just like everyone else. And I do feel what you're saying there, Elise. I feel like that random team will come in and beat them, but I'm going to have to go with the safe prediction this year. I've got Iowa losing to Penn State, Oregon, and USC. It's the most basic thing you can look at so far this season. But I got to play it safe. This is what I see so far for their outlook. But looking ahead to this weekend, specifically against Albany, Iowa wins 42-0. You take a look at last season, they had 4 games where they scored 40-plus points. This is a stronger offense against a weaker FCS opponent compared to Illinois State last year. And, you know, I just don't see the Great Danes moving the ball downfield much at all, so I am going to put that goose egg up on the board for them. Elise, obviously you don't have the belt on your shoulder right now. I hope you enjoyed while you had it, because that might be the last time you ever wear it. You think I'm a little crazy?
I think you're a little cuckoo, but it's okay. We all are sometimes.
We'll see after this weekend who is holding it. But for now, thank you, Ryan, Cole, Sam, and you for tuning in to Before the Kickoff.
Make sure to check out the Daily Iowans website and YouTube page for all the latest on Hawkeye sports and coverage of this weekend's game. From the University of Iowa, I'm Elise Gann.
And I'm Colin Carruthers. Have a fantastic kickoff weekend, folks.